I wanted to try this rainbow bubble nail art because it looked so pretty in my head, but the reality was very different, and I would like you to learn from my mistakes. So let's dive into this tutorial that later turned out a disaster. Hello guys, this is Anastasia and this is my client's hand. Her nails are actually very pretty, but right now they're not in their best condition, so we're about to change it. We have some old product leftovers, so we need to start by removing them. There's some polygel on her nails and probably a little bit of hard gel. Both of these products normally cannot be soaked off, so we need to file them off. I'm using carbide bead with green abrasive mark. The speed is 28,000 rotations per minute. One of the most common questions regarding product removal is how do I choose nail drill bit? Well, it really depends on the product. So if we need to remove acrylic nails, you can also soak them off, but I usually still prefer the filing off method because to me it's much faster, and also if I plan to leave a thin layer of the product on the nails, this is the only way to do it. So for acrylic nails, I prefer carbide beads. But if I want to file off hard gel or polygel, normally they are way softer, so I can use both ceramic or carbide drill bits. Here we have some product lifting. As you can see, the product is kind of falling off as I get closer to the lifted area, so it will not make any sense to leave the product on her nails. So we are doing full removal and then we are doing new extensions from scratch. But it's not only about the type of the product, but also the amount matters. So if I see long nails with lots of product on it, obviously I'm going to pick more coarse drill bits and preferably carbide ones. But if there is not too much, like now, then ceramic bead will be just perfect. Once we filed off the product, it's time to proceed to the nail prep. And first I will push back the cuticles with orange wood stick. And it is very different depending on the client. For example, with this one, she already has this natural pocket. Like her cuticles are not really stuck too much to the nail, which means this process is going to be quite easy and fast. But it also may vary on every single nail. Like on this one, we need to work a little bit more. The goal is to simply separate the skin from the nail plate, so then it will be easier to use the flame-shaped bit that I'm going to switch after that. Some people have nails that you look at them and it even seems like they don't really have any cuticle on their nail plate. I mean, it looks like there is nothing to clean, but it may be deceiving because normally the skin is transparent, and only once you start pushing it back, whether with an orange wood stick, with a pusher, or with e-file, then it turns into white and you can actually see it. I proceed with the dry manicure flame-shaped diamond bead red abrasive mark forward mode. The speed is 18,000 rotations per minute. I also get this question a lot, like what's the average time to do nail prep and dry manicure? It really depends on the client. For example, with a client like this, it's not going to take long at all. 10, maybe 15 minutes. But if we have a client with more excessive skin, with hangnails, or even short and beaten nails, then obviously it may take twice or even 3 times longer. However, I didn't have any issues with the nail prep because the problem started to appear later once we got to the product application and nail art. And meanwhile, I'm working on the opposite side. I'm using the same speed, 18,000 rotations per minute, but now it's reverse mode. I push back the cuticles, so it is going to be easier to trim them. And once I'm done with this part, we need to remove the surface shine, and I prefer to do it with a hand file. 180 grit is usually enough. On some nails the product was missing, so we need to remove the surface shine from the entire nail, and on some nail where we already did product removal, we mostly need to do it closer to the cuticle area where the outgrown part is. Also, if you notice some old product leftovers, this is the best time to remove them and to make sure that the surface of the nail plate is dry and clean, which is exactly what we need for flawless product application. And the final part is trimming that tissue with manicure scissors. I told you, her nails are so pretty. Once we did manicure and removed the old product, they look awesome even without any product at all. Now I need to pick the right size of the dual forms that will match her nails from one sidewall to the other. Unlike soft gel tips that are applied directly on the nail, dual forms are supposed to be slightly bigger than the nail because this is a mold. For this design, I will need 3 different colors of polygel, so I decided to take yellow, pink and purple. I think this is the perfect combination. They're all pretty bright and look great together. I'm not going to mix them too much, just a couple movements with orange wood stick so they will be closer together. Finally, before doing the design, we need to apply dehydrator on all nails, let dry, and then we apply non-acid primer. With non-acid primer, you don't really need to wait. You can just apply it and proceed to the next product. And in our case, this is going to be a base coat. This is a standard prep for polygel extensions, whether you're using regular forms or dual forms. And also, we need to cure the base coat for 1 minute. While it was curing, I was super excited to do some prep for the nail art because with dual forms, sometimes you need to do part of the design on dual form, like outside of the client's nails. So I apply some hard gel, freeze cure it for about 20 seconds. Then I add this foam so we can have some bubbles and cure it right away. This is how you will get this beautiful pattern. So then I applied liquid chrome because if you apply dry chrome powder, I thought this will be much harder to fill in all these little holes. Then I waited a little bit because you don't really need to cure it, it just evaporates, and then I added 3 colors of polygel. So for now it looked fantastic and I was sure that it is going to look great on the nails too. But once I started to apply it on her nail, I felt like something is definitely wrong, like I just couldn't make it stay the way it normally does. It wasn't connecting near the cuticle area, and finally I got it. Because of the bubbles, they give this extra thickness near the cuticle area, so there's no way you can make it thin like you're supposed to. So I decided to try a different approach. I'm going to do everything the same way, but I'm not going to do bubbles all the way to the cuticle. I will do them like halfway so that I can do cuticle area super thin like it's supposed to. It seemed like a genius idea, right? And yes, I was so confident that it is going to work, so I didn't even try it on one nail. I decided to do 5 dual forms right away to do the full hand. So basically I did everything the same way, I only didn't add bubbles so close to the cuticle or to the sidewall. So I applied on the nail, and this time I didn't have any issues with the cuticle area and it's super thin. Yes, I have some excess product from the sidewalls and I freeze cure the product for about 10 to 15 seconds and then I clean it. Then you can also clean the underside of the nail before fully curing it for at least 1 minute in LED lamp. Doing inlay nail art with dual forms is usually quite easy because sometimes you need to do part of the design inside of the dual form, and like right now I pre-made most of the design, so I already have these bubbles and this chrome inside of the dual form. So then I simply add this mixture of 3 gel polishes, then I do the application like I normally would. I build the thin area near the cuticle, I build the apex and make sure that I also build the sidewalls. I think these 3 colors together make a perfect color combination, especially when yellow and pink, when they're next to each other and they mix a little bit, we can see a little bit of orange in between, so now it looks like sunset. Apply it on the nail, then freeze cure it for 15 to 20 seconds, and then we get rid of the excess polygel on the sides if we have some. By the way, can you already tell what exactly went horribly wrong in this design? Because at this point in real life I couldn't. Now I know what was wrong, so when I'm looking to the recording of this tutorial I can clearly see it. But for some reason in real life I thought that it's going to be fine. While doing this design I also also figured that bubbles look so much better if they have a different sizes, like some of them are big, some of them are really small, but you need to be careful because if you make them super big, they're going to add more volume inside of your dual form, and this can interfere with the structure of the nail. Let's say if this big bubble will be close to the sidewall or to the free edge, then you're risking getting extra thick nails or simply filing it off later. Oh man, I can never tell how much of the product exactly I need to mix in order for it to be enough for a full set. There's always one nail left when I'm finished with my marble mix. But with this design, it's not really a big problem because all we need to do is to mix the exact same colors. They're still going to look a little different on each nail. By the way, in this video, I'm showing you the entire process of the application of the product into the dual form so you can have an idea. It's not exactly that you just take the product and apply it right away. It takes a little time for you to build the structure, and even though dual forms are extremely helpful and truly make your life easier when it comes to nail sculpting, you still need to do some work. Especially this part, cleaning the product underneath, which I prefer after freeze curing the product for about 20 seconds because it's so hard and so time consuming when you try to file it off underneath. Like at this point, I realized that I took too much product and we have some excess. So it's much easier and better if we get rid of it now and clean it now with the brush rather than I will be filing it all off. Then we fully cure it for 1 minute, or since we had color polygels, 2 minutes won't hurt, and do the best part, which is dual forms removal. Now we can see this perfect shape, and I only need to file it around the cuticle area, along the sidewalls, and probably some nails are kind of long, so we also need to take care of that. I'm using ceramic drill bit, which I recently found in my drawer, and for some reason I wasn't using it, but it's actually so convenient because it's rather narrow, so I can easily reach these areas close to the cuticle and along the sidewalls without touching the client's skin. This polygel is rather soft, so ceramic bead works just perfectly with it. And also I need to file the sidewalls, and I will be using this thin wooden file, which is 240 grit. Even though it may seem like we did coffin-shaped nails, no, actually the goal is to do almond-shaped nails, so I'm rounding the free edge and make sure they're all identical. And this is what we have for now when I realized what exactly is wrong with this nail. Look at this line. It's kind of like a line in between the bubbles area and no bubbles area. It also gives these vibes like these nails are already 3 to 4 weeks past infill. Somehow on the thumb I managed to do something like bubbles ombre, which is a total accident, but on the rest of the nails this line is so obvious, so this is what we decided to do. I took a semi-transparent builder pink gel that I'm going to add near the cuticle and do a little fade. So this way, this area hopefully is going to look a little less obvious. So I add some gel first and then I use an ombre brush and do this fade. When doing dual forms, there's always some product missing a little bit near the cuticle area, so it's also kind of beneficial in terms of nail structure, but I was seriously hoping that it is going to conceal these lines and the nails are going to look fresh, not like it's been 3 weeks already. But then there was another problem, because on some nails the color near the cuticle was mostly purple, which is much darker, and it is so harder to cover it with this pink. Looking back now, I think that I should have probably used some color with a better coverage, like not as transparent. But at the same time, just imagine if I used some hot pink or purple color on top. I think it will really take all the attention from the design and it will look like too much, right? We don't really want to add any bright colors to this design because it already looks complete. Or maybe I should have used like a pearl or milky color. Please share your in the comments, like what would you do if you will get in this kind of situation. As you can see, I was feeling really hopeful, and it's kind of working, right? I mean, you can barely see this line out. So I was feeling confident that we found the solution. It is going to look great. All we need to do to finish the design is to seal it with a glossy top coat. Cure, and now we only need to wash the nails to make sure we don't have any dust leftovers. I'm using a cleansing foam which also moisturizes the skin, and this is how we will know that her nails and hands are going to look stunning on the final pictures and videos. Well, they look better now, I guess, and the thumb is really good. I mean, I wish I could do this bubble ombre on each nail, but this line, it's still there and I cannot unsee it, and this is why I think this design is kind of a fail. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time here on my channel, consider subscribing, as I post nail art tutorials, including the one with fails like this one, every week. See you in my next video. Goodbye!